Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Career Design Studios live stream. And I am going to be talking to you today about some of the really cool things that you can do with LinkedIn. And this is something that I love talking about because so much of what we know about LinkedIn really is how to write a profile, how to find jobs, how to sign up for, for job emails and networking, and all of that can be really valuable. And at the same time, for career designers, for people who are really looking to find their right fit career, LinkedIn gives us opportunities to discover so much more than we would ever be able to do if we were just talking to people that we meet in the street. And especially now, it is with so much networking being done online, LinkedIn is a great way of finding people who can answer some of your questions. And so in my career design studio, there is a process that we go through to help you find your right fit career. And this is something that you can kind of skip some steps if you've already done it or if you know what you're going to do. But at the same time, it is constructed in a way that really helps you go step by step into figuring out what it is that you love doing, what it is that you don't love doing, what types of jobs are you thinking about, what are the things that are most important to you, and what are some of your questions? And so that you really do your due diligence. And a lot of people, when they are realizing that their current job is not a good fit for them and they want to do something different, they will just kind of think about what they know and look at job postings and ask themselves, can I do this? If yes, then I'll apply. And but they don't get the information that they need to make a good decision as to if this job or this company or this team is going to fit their skills, strengths, and passion. And so I want to just start by showing you what I mean in my career design studio. And so the raw materials are where you figure out who you are and what you love to do. What is important to you? What are your goals? What does an ideal day look like? And so it's all these different activities that help you identify what's really most important to you. And what's the foundation? So this is what you are building your life and your career on, is who you are and what you want out of life. And this flows into the napkin sketch, which is where you take your raw materials, all the things that you've said are important to you. So that would be the career design essentials. And this is what comes up as you are going through the system. And then to prioritize that, then to really think about what are the things that are most important to me? What are my have-to-haves? What are the things that if I don't have this, I'm going to be a miserable human being? And so that might be flexibility or work-life balance or certain salary or certain location. And then the nice to haves and the icing on the cake, those are kind of one or two steps removed from what is essential for you. But your career design priorities, this is where it really starts to kind of get into the nitty gritty and of what's going to make you happy. And then once we get into the career design, then you start thinking about, so here in the napkin sketch, you've got some potential jobs. So this is what you've been identifying along the way. And then in my career design, you start thinking through, well, what's missing for the jobs that I have said seem really cool to me. And so to be a teacher, then you can look at different job descriptions, and then here's what I have, here's what I need to obtain. And then this leads you through kind of brainstorming. How could I obtain these requirements? And then this also gives you a chance to be like, well, I don't know. I don't know where I can take classes on watershed science and equipment. I don't know the best way to manage my schedule. I've got, everything that I'm reading is saying that you need to be highly organized. I'm not a highly organized person. Is this a job that would be okay for me? Are there other people who do it and love it and are more like me than what I'm imagining this person to be, the ideal candidate to be? So this is when you start asking yourself some questions. And then we've got a section called Finding Design Partners. And so this is where you kind of take, it shows you all the questions that you have about the different jobs. And then you can start thinking about, who do I know who might be able to answer some of those questions? That is what you want to start out with. When you are what my career design studio calls finding design partners, what I personally call creating community, and what most people call networking. It is connecting with people that can help you on your career design. That's what you're looking for. You want to be intentional and strategic about who you talk to and about what. So that way the person that you're talking to doesn't feel like you're using them or just wasting their time. And by using them, I mean like, hey, give me a job, versus you've got some information that I would like to learn from. And the difference is your approach, frankly. And do you see them as a person or as a means to an end? And when you're talking to someone and asking about their expertise, then you are treating them as a person and not just someone who can get me to the next level. And that's where we start building relationships and community and partnerships. And so planning partner building conversations, this is where you start creating an agenda of, okay, this is what I need to know to figure out if this is a good job for me or how I can get this job. And then when the people in your immediate network, you don't know anybody who can answer those specific questions, that's when you go into LinkedIn to find some additional people that you can talk to. And just a couple of things to just help you understand this concept of partnership building and community building. Not everyone that you approach or ask for advice from is going to be the right person for you to talk to. And what you're really looking for are those people who love to help others, who will go out of their way to, oh, you need this question answered. I don't know the answer to that question. but I bet this person does. Here, let me send out an email. Let me pick up the phone and let me take you over to their office and introduce you. There are people that take great joy in helping others. It is not the majority of the population. The best statistic I've heard is that it's about 20%, which is actually a lot of people out there. And so the best way to find those people, whether they're in your network or you find them on LinkedIn, is to ask for help. And if they jump at the chance to help you, then there's someone who, where you're giving them an opportunity to do something that they love. And that is really important because so often we feel like we are taking up someone's time, we're being an imposition. And for some people, frankly, you would be. There's lots of people out there who really don't want to talk to you. So the goal is not to try, how do I get these people to talk to me? Nope, it's about finding the people who want to be helpful. That is the best use of your time. And it's actually really easy to do. You just send out an email and say, hey, I would like some advice. Do you have 20 minutes in the next couple of weeks to talk to me? If you hear back from them, chances are they want to talk to you. So that is how we want to reframe networking so that it is effective for you and doesn't feel like a burden either for you or for the people that you're talking to. All right, so that's the overview. Now let's talk about LinkedIn and how you're actually going to identify people who can answer your questions. So, for example, let's say, okay, so we were looking at the gap analysis. We're looking at an outdoor educator. So one of the things that you can just do is outdoor, actually, let's put it in environmental, even though it's harder for me to spell, environmental educator. And so you want to look up a job title in people. And, number one, because you're looking for people, right? And so getting an idea of who is doing that work. So these people that have popped up on my particular results, it's going to look different for you because it's based on your connections and not just people in LinkedIn. This is a reason to have as many connections as is reasonable for you to get. So don't be stingy on the connection requests. And then you can just take a look and see, maybe you want someone who lives nearby you. So then you put in, for me, that would be the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. And then we can see, all right, who is around that I might be able to meet up for coffee. And so that gives us close to 5,000 results just by doing that. And you also might want to think about, am I interested in being a teacher at a public school system or at a nonprofit or nature system or nature conservancy center? And so this gives you, again, a way to very quickly identify people who might be able to answer your question. And then you can start reaching out to them and asking some of these questions. And the other thing too is it can be really useful. So let's just take a look at Johanna. And to see this person's career trajectory. and how did they get started? Where did they go to school? What did they major in? They've got some volunteer experience, and it's just really interesting. So if one of your questions is, how do I get started? Then you might be like, oh, maybe I should volunteer in some parks, or apply to be a Chesapeake Bay intern at the National Park Service. And oh, by the way, I also went to University of Maryland. So I've got these different things in common with this particular person. And then you can just go and keep adding people to your database. And so you can just add another, put in their name, current job title, company, any information that you have, their LinkedIn page and notes. And so now you've got all the people that can help you with your career design all in one place. All right, so that is one way of finding people to answer your questions in LinkedIn. And so I also mentioned, being alumni. And so the college or university that you went to can be another really great way of making connections, because you've got this thing in common automatically. So let's go ahead and put in no, let's not do the University of Maryland. Let's go for George Washington. Why not? And so if you go to the university page, and then you click on alumni, this gives you quite a few options that I find really cool. And similarly, you can narrow down by the people who graduated from that college and university in your particular area. And we let it think for a while. And so we got over 65,000. So at a glance, you can see where they work. Now let's not put environmental education. Let's just put environmental, because sometimes, sometimes less specific at this time juncture can be useful. So if we just put in environmental, then that'll pick up anyone who has the word environmental, and probably the different renditions, environment. But again, you can see, all right, we've got quite a few people who work for the EPA, NOAA, U.S. Forest Service, Department of Energy and Environment, and then it gives you people who are doing this kind of work. And so again, by putting in these search terms, so there's almost 5,000 people in my area who have something to do with the environment that I can reach out to. So again, these are just really great ways to identify potential connections, your potential career design partners. Now, let's say that you want to work for the EPA. And actually, this is not the best way to get to it. This is just going to show you who is doing that. So 117 people. But let's just take a look at a profile. So this is just another way of getting to company pages. So the thing that I really appreciate about LinkedIn, I mean, so here, if you're interested in EPA or NOAA, you can just click on the organization name, and it takes you directly to their LinkedIn page. And from here, if you want some more information, you can visit their website. But let's say what we're really looking for are, you're interested in working at NOAA, but you don't know if it's really a good fit for you. And so you've got your career design priorities. You know that you, in fact, let's take a look at my career design priorities. What have I identified as important to me? So, so I want to be able to teach, train, or mentor others. In a collaborative, supportive environment allows me to learn and grow as a person. So I don't know if NOAA is going to fit all of those needs. And so that way, if you go to people, this will give you a very familiar layout. And then you can see, okay, where they live, where they studied. Let's just explore a little bit more. What do they do? What did they study? And what are they skilled at? And how are you connected to them? So this again just gives a ton of information about people, about organizations, about people in organizations. And so depending on the questions that you have, you're going to want to use LinkedIn in slightly different ways. And so that's where going through my career design studio helps you get clarity about where the areas where you don't have clarity. Where is that black box, that thing that, so does NOAA allow me to grow as a person, or are they focused more on putting me in a box and keeping me there? So some of these questions that you might have, the only way to get them answered is to talk to people. And so people are your best way of getting information, and they're also the best way of getting a job. And so by starting when you have questions before you know what you really want to do, but by talking to people now and starting to build relationships and identify the people that are really interested and eager to help. I mean, all of these things are absolutely amazing, because then once you realize, okay, NOAA is a good place for me, and I do want to be an environmental educator there. So let me go back to the people that I've already talked to and say, all right, thank you so much for the advice that you've given me. And based on that, I've realized this is really what I want to do. Can you, at this point, give me some pointers about how I can make myself competitive here? What do I need to have on my resume? Am I missing any experience? How do you recommend I get that experience? What kind of jobs should I be looking for? What teams would you recommend that I work on? Do you know anybody at that team that you could introduce me to? And then when you're talking to someone on that team, then asking questions, what is it like? What's the atmosphere like? What kind of supervision do you get? What kind of person would really thrive here? And then you can ask questions such as, so what challenges are you facing as a team? So environmental educators, what kind of challenges do they face? And the reason why you want to ask those questions is because that's where you learn what they're really looking for that they might not say in a job description. So for example, the job description must be like, must be a people person or enjoys having fun. And when you're talking to someone, what you might hear is that the success of this project really depends on the community getting involved and kind of doing our marketing for us. So we need to be able to engage with people, and what we found is like fun and games is a really good way of doing that. And so then you've got some information. Then when you're applying for a job there, you take that information and you put that in your resume and or cover letter. So then you wouldn't just say I'm a people person. One of your bullet points would be something like, if you've got that experience, reached out to over 50 students when I was a student at University of Maryland. And then 50% that then turned out to, do additional marketing for us, so that you craft your experience to show that you can overcome the problem that is really common at that specific agency in that specific team. So then when that hiring manager gets your resume, then you look like you are the answer to their prayers. And on top of that, you work your resume to address their problems, you submit that, and then you go back to the person that you talked to and you say, hey, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I just applied for this position. If you feel comfortable, would you mind talking to your boss and just say that we've had a conversation? And if you feel comfortable saying, I recommend you bring this person in for an interview, that would be great. And since you've already identified people who want to help you, chances are that's going to be really easy for them. And they don't have to say, this is my best friend from 15 years ago, but more, this person, from the questions they asked me, I know that they have done their research, that they're really interested in this work. And from what I gather, they would be a really good fit here. That almost guarantees you an interview. On top of that, some organizations offer cash bonuses for employees who bring in somebody that is eventually hired into the organization. So you might actually be giving someone a little monetary bonus if you ask them to recommend you. So lots of stuff here to think about. And, what I really wanted to focus on today was using LinkedIn, but also understanding the role that LinkedIn plays overall in your career design. So I really recommend that you get some clarity about the kinds of questions that you have, and then figure out who you want to talk to, and if LinkedIn is the right way to find those people. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. And until next week, happy designing.